Now you will see the most interesting vintage photographs and unusual objects from the past. Let's get 100,000 subscribers. Neptune's holiday on the Aurora, 1911. Sailors perform a rite of passage when crossing the equator, a long, standing, naval tradition. Abraham Lincoln was an almost invincible fighter. About 300 fights and only one defeat. At the age of 21, he became the district champion in Illinois. In 1992, he was inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Loading provisions onto a nuclear submarine, Gadzhievo, 1996. Sailors are carrying sacks of onions, a common scene before a long hike. There should be enough food on board for months to come, and basic foods like potatoes and onions are a strategic reserve. Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, summer 1969. The photo was taken a few weeks before the attack at their home in Los Angeles, which became one of the most notorious crimes of the 20th century. Gynecological Educational Model, 1880. It was used to train obstetricians. In the center, the anatomy of the uterus. Around, the stages of embryo development. All the elements are handmade with amazing detail. The Brothers Grimm, 1847. Jacob and Wilhelm are not just the authors of fairy tales, but the founders of scientific linguistics. Their collections of children's and family tales have become classics, and this rare photo portrait is one of the few where they are depicted together. Psychiatric Hospital, USA, 1904. Patients and nurses in the hallway during the quiet hour. Despite the cozy appearance, the treatment methods back then were harsh and primitive. An Arikara warrior named Bear Belly, North Dakota, 1908. He is dressed in a traditional cape made of hide, symbolizing strength and connection with animal spirits. Invitation to the wedding of Walt Disney's daughter Diana Mary and Ronald William Miller, May 9th, 1954, Montecito, California. Found by chance at an old table, it is a real piece of the history of one of the most famous families of the 20th century. Future Steelworkers, Dneprodzержinsk, USSR, 1950. A group of students wearing safety glasses closely observes the process of steel production. They are being trained for the profession of metallurgist. Armenian women, 1895. Armed and determined, they participated in the defense of their villages during the Ottoman repressions. Racing Moskvich, 407 G2, 1959. An experimental Soviet car with an aerodynamic body, accelerated to 225 km /h, designed for record-breaking races. Masutatsu Oyama is a legendary martial artist and the founder of the Kyokushin style. The photo shows his famous fight with a bull, which has become a symbol of the strength and spirit of the fighter. Gallipoli, Turkey, 1915. An Irish soldier uses a rifle with a helmet to trick the enemy and call for fire. A typical trick of the First World War. The rest of the soldiers are resting right in the trench. India, 1901. Mass pilgrimage to the temple complex. The Jain-style architecture, with its many spires and domes, is a symbol of the spiritual and cultural strength of the region. Soviet gunners, 1944. Soldiers under the command of Captain Konstantin Baboshko's guard are pushing the cannon into position. Sophie Marceau, 1996. The French actress at the peak of her popularity is an image of the sensuality and sophistication of the European cinema of the 90s. Paris, May 1968. Police storm the barricades in the Latin Quarter, the epicenter of the student revolution that nearly toppled power in France. Ronald Reagan in a German uniform. A shot from the film Desperate Journey, 1942. The future president of the United States played a pilot masquerading as an enemy behind Nazi lines. Jane Birkin in her house. Paris, 1971. A legend of the 70s. Serge Gainsbourg's muse is relaxed, daring, and natural. Yuri Gagarin in London, 1961. Crowds of Britons take to the streets to see the first man in space. The rapture, the ovation, and the standing ovation are like those of a rock star. Paul McCartney, 1980. The moment of his release from a Tokyo prison. He was arrested at the airport with a large shipment of marijuana, which threatened 7 years in prison, but because of his worldwide fame, he spent only 9 days behind bars. The 1949 invention is a double smoking pipe designed for 2 people at the same time. In the post-war years, they saved on everything, even tobacco. Ozzy Osbourne with his daughter Amy France, 1984. The Black Sabbath frontman and heavy metal icon offstage is a caring father. Funeral ring, England, 19th century. The figure of death with a scythe and a watch is a symbol of frailty. A lock of the deceased's hair was often kept inside. Such rings were worn as a personal reminder of loss. Raquel Welch on the set of the movie A Million Years Before Our Era, 1966. Cyclists snack on spaghetti during the Giro d'Italia cycling race, 1966. Oxford, Cambridge, and Key's students play soccer, dressed in the latest fashion of gentlemen of the Victorian era, December 3rd, 1946. The legs of a Chinese woman with so-called lotus feet, compared to an ordinary teacup, and shoes of an average American woman during the First World War. Dr. Benedict's device, 1935. It was used to measure metabolism. The device recorded oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide production. Artificial beach ocean dome, Miyazaki, Japan, 1996. One of the largest indoor beaches in the world. A wave pool, artificial sky, adjustable climate, and not a drop of real sun. Dolph Lundgren and Grace Jones, 1980s. The future action hero started out as Jones' bodyguard, a model, actress, and icon of the avant-garde, a chair with spikes, 68th century, the torture device of the Inquisition era. The thorns did not pierce the organs, but caused severe pain and fear. It was used for confessions. Officers of the U.S. Army, Virginia, 1864. The Civil War is in full swing, but there is a rare pause in the photo. Officers in the camp at a table with bottles and papers. Luis Buñuel carries his cross, 1969, France, on the set of the movie Milky Way. Moscow, 1934. An aerial caricature of the Nazi leader is part of a march in honor of the 17th anniversary of the October Revolution. Soviet propaganda ridiculed Nazism long before the start of the war. Nikola Tesla looks out of the laboratory, Colorado Springs, 1899. It was here that he conducted his most daring experiments with electricity, including attempts at wireless power transmission. There is a warning on the door. Dangerous. Mitsubishi Shipyard, Nagasaki, 1945. Submarines on the stocks in a city that was officially considered civilian. Mitsubishi factories actively worked for the Japanese army, which made Nagasaki one of the targets of the atomic bombing. Marilyn Monroe on Santa Monica Beach, 1962. One of her last photos is of the actress smiling, wrapped in a towel, a few months before her death. A unit of the People's Liberation Army of China, mid-20th century. Soldiers on exercises with Type 36 submachine guns. A copy of the German MP-18. The photo reflects the period of modernization of the PLA in the years after the Civil War and on the eve of the Korean conflict. In 1959, transparent telephone booths were installed in many cities. It was easy for people waiting in line to watch the person talking and see when he finished the conversation. USA, 1950s. A car with play steering wheels for kids in the back seats is an easy way to keep kids busy on the road before the age of gadgets. The child felt like a driver, and the trip turned into an adventure. Adolf Hitler, right on the Western Front, 1914. He served as a liaison in the German army during the First World War. The photo was taken at the beginning of his service, years before he became the leader of the Nazi Party. Evenkia, 1964. Reindeer sledding caravan in the far north. The foreground is a wrapped-up Evenk in traditional clothes. The photo captures the life of a nomadic people in the harsh winter taiga. Omsk region, USSR, 1962. Civil defense drill. Women in gas masks practice actions in case of a chemical attack. In the foreground is a model who accidentally got into the frame. Letizia Costa at the Cosmopolitan Party, 1998. She is 20. She is already the face of L'Oréal and the new icon of France. In the era of silicone and gloss, it's natural, bold, and real. That's why she was remembered. The rarest daguerreotype of Niccolò Paganini is the only known photo of a violinist who was considered possessed by his contemporaries. His playing was so masterly that there were rumors. He sold his soul to the devil. The prototype of roller skates of the late 19th century. England, 1898. Each shoe had 2 mini bicycle wheels and a wooden shin splint. It was uncomfortable to drive, but it looked spectacular. The full Pink Floyd lineup, 1968. Syd Barrett, right, is still in the band, but he will soon be replaced by David Gilmour. Left, a historic moment of change. Professional rat catchers, Sydney, 1900. During the outbreak of bubonic plague, the authorities paid for every rat killed because they were the main carriers of the disease. Salvador Dali and his pet ocelot named Babu, 1965. The extravagant artist often took him with him to social events, causing shock and admiration of the public. An organist plays for first-class passengers on board an airplane, 1959. In that era, air travel was a luxury, and such performances were an attempt to turn the flight into a real social event. A photograph of Bertha Liebecke, taken in 1903, a woman who approached rich men in a crowd and pretended to faint in their arms, and then picked their pockets. Checking E, mail the old-fashioned way, early 1980s. The man uses a Panasonic RL P4001 modem with acoustic pairing, connected to a Panasonic RL H1400 HHC laptop computer, directly through an ordinary street payphone. This is what the internet looked like before Wi-Fi. Portrait of a Tajik girl with a dutar, 1899. The strings of this ancient instrument were played at weddings, holidays, and in everyday life. Workers apply prints to fabric using silk screen printing. USA, 1960. It was from such tables that the fashion for T-shirts with images of rock bands and protest icons began. Prints of the Grateful Dead were among the first, followed by portraits of Che Guevara. Manufacture of eye prostheses, USA, 1948. Each artificial eye was individually selected. The color of the iris, the shape, and even the reaction to light. The pupils contracted in bright light and expanded in the dark. The material is multi-layer plastic. Joaquin Phoenix washes dishes in a restaurant, 1996. Before his worldwide fame, the actor led an ordinary life and was not shy about any work. Harley-Davidson, 1000 FS with sidecar, 1919. One of the early masterpieces of the American motorcycle industry, with its distinctive V-shaped engine and leather interior. Such motorcycles were actively used in the Army and police and also became a symbol of luxury in post-war America. A British sniper during the Second World War. The camouflage is handmade from burlap and mesh for camouflage in grassy terrain. Such snipers acted covertly, conducting pinpoint fire on enemy targets. Jean Moreau dances on a table during lunch at the Cannes Film Festival, 1958. The energy of the French actress, the fun of the guests, and the lack of pathos. That's the spirit of those times in Cannes. The ambassador to Great Britain, Ivan Mikhailovich Maisky, cuts the bars of the lattice fence of the USSR embassy to donate metal to the needs of the military industry. London, Great Britain. The year is 1943. Herring for Shabbat, 1937, Mukachevo, Czechoslovak Republic. The photo shows the moment of traditional preparation for the Jewish Sabbath. A man and a young man choose fish from barrels at a street market. The crew of the KV-1 tank on Moskovsky Prospect in Leningrad, 1942. In the background is the House of Soviets, one of the largest buildings in the city, turned into a defensive line. The photo reflects the difficult situation of besieged Leningrad, where battles were fought literally on the outskirts of the center. The head of the Soviet R-5A ballistic missile after the flight and return to Earth. In the capsule is a dog named Motley, who successfully survived the ordeal. The picture was taken on August 27, 1958, at the Kapustin Yar test site, a key site in the history of early Soviet cosmonautics. Fanny Cochrane-Smith, the last native speaker of the Tasmanian Aboriginal language, records her songs on a phonograph in 1903. This unique recording has become one of the rarest sound traces of a disappearing culture. The first officially registered interracial marriage in Mississippi. Roger Mills and Madeline Lee Berkson got married on August 2, 1970 in Jackson, just after the repeal of the last ban on interracial marriage in the state. A historical photo that has become a symbol of overcoming racial barriers. 112-year-old Teimuraz Vanacha, a veteran of the First World War and the Civil War, with his son Ivan, a veteran of the Great Patriotic War, 1980. An American flame-throwing tank handles Japanese fortifications in Okinawa. The Second World War, 1945. Antarctica, 1958. A Soviet expedition led by Evgeny Tolstakov reached the pole of inaccessibility and established a base with a bust of Lenin facing Moscow. Philippines, 1995. 17-year-old Manny Pacquiao undergoes grueling training on his way to becoming a world boxing legend. Yuri Gagarin after fishing. USSR, 1965. The first cosmonaut of the Earth is relaxing in nature, with a catch in his hands and a wide smile. Elton John, on stage, as Donald Duck. 1980, one of his most eccentric and memorable performances. A voice-controlled robot created in 1961 as a toy for children. He was able to move, respond to commands, and even launch rockets, the progenitor of modern radio-controlled transformers. Slave sale announcement, 1855, Kentucky. People were evaluated as a commodity. Age, physical characteristics, and skills were indicated. A terrible but real part of American history. Bruce Lee with his young son Brandon, early 1970s. A warm family moment of a martial arts legend caught off set. Lithuanian book smuggler Vincas Juska, 1890s. During the period of the ban on Lithuanian Latin printing, he secretly distributed books, risking his freedom for the sake of preserving the language and culture. A Cossack sharpens a saber at a street grinder in Moscow, 1942. The scene is a reminder of how front, line service, and peaceful life in the rear intertwined. Street trade and machinery, 1990s. Televisions, tape recorders, and video players were sold directly from trucks. A symbol of the era of the wild market and the first shuttles. May Day, Red Square, 1959. A large scale march with giant balloons, lively patterns, and vibrant choreography. This is how Labor Day was celebrated in the USSR. The parade has become a symbol of unity and power of the Soviet era, a device for extracting the wounded. British soldiers are testing a special crane to extract wounded tankers. The device is mounted on the turret of the infantry tank Mikhail Matilda II. Captured Soviet soldiers in December 1941 eagerly reach for water in a frozen ditch. In such inhumane conditions, every sip was a matter of survival. A prisoner in France, 1900s, the mustache was not real, but impaled. Such a drawing on the face meant an open challenge to the prison system. The body is covered with symbols of alienation, sans patrie, sans chance, without a homeland, without a chance. Luxury morphine injection kit, late 19th, early 20th century. Such kits were used by doctors and the military, but sometimes they were ordered by wealthy patients for home pain relief. Rita Hayworth, 1941. Bob Landry's legendary photo for Life magazine became a symbol of the pin-up era and helped the actress gain the status of a Hollywood sex icon. This frame decorated thousands of Army lockers from the Second World War. Aerial survey of 1993, parking of contaminated equipment used in the liquidation of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident. Helicopters, armored personnel carriers, and trucks are buried here, forever soaked in radiation. A Scotch Terrier named Fala. President Franklin Roosevelt's beloved dog listens to his speech on the radio, 1944. Rare shot, Arizona Cowboys play an unusual version of polo with a giant ball. Phoenix, USA, 1955. Sports entertainment at the intersection of the Wild West and American fantasy. Hut Reading Room, Krasny Plowman, Village of Amarevo, 1920s. Here, the villagers discover for the first time the world of newspapers, ideas, and change. A place where the illiterate yesterday read with greed today. The surface of another planet, seen for the first time. It's not fiction. It's Venus. The photo was taken by the Soviet Venera 9 spacecraft in 1975. The camera worked for only 53 minutes, but managed to transmit to Earth a frame that changed the idea of the planets. Grozny, 1995. Russian soldiers on armored vehicles against the background of the destroyed government building in the center of Grozny, one of the most recognizable shots of the First Chechen War. An Egyptian sock. 3th century AD colored knitted sock with thumb compartment. It was worn with sandals. Discovered in a child's tomb, it was perfectly preserved due to the dry climate of Egypt. President of Chile Salvador Allende during the storming of the palace, 1973. The last photo of Allende, taken on the day of the military coup. The president, along with his closest associates, leaves the office, preparing for defense. Gina Lollobrigida on vacation. The 1960s. One of the most striking actresses of the golden era of Italian cinema. During a student demonstration in Berkeley in 1969, a helicopter sprayed tear gas from the air. A rare case of such an intervention, the photo has become a symbol of the troubled era of protests in the United States. Employees of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York weigh gold bars on giant mechanical scales. The 1959 photo is a rare look inside one of the largest treasures in the world. Tram number 5 is moving slowly through the rain-soaked streets of Stockholm. Sweden, 1930. A rare color photograph of that time. A Bronze Age sword with a golden hilt. It was found in the tomb of a noble warrior in Germany around 1400 BC. One of the most luxurious artifacts of that time. Roberta Vasquez is an American model and actress who became popular in the 1980s due to her work for Playboy and roles in action films directed by Andy Sedaris. A former Playmate of the Month, November 1984, she epitomized the fitness culture and glamour of that era. Rusty but legendary is the blade of the guillotine used to execute French Queen Marie Antoinette in 1793. The artifact was bought from the executioner's family and is now kept as a grim reminder of the Great French Revolution. In the photo, a team of police officers from Detroit participates in a tug-of-war competition. 1991, the peak of street festivals and mass sporting events in the USA. Betty Brosmer, the 50s. One of the first female bodybuilders, fitness popularizer, model. An unusual moment during the Second World War, German soldiers arrange a jousting tournament, riding bulls somewhere in the occupied territory of the USSR, September 1942. The scene is almost a farce against the backdrop of the tragedies taking place at this time. Arnold Schwarzenegger poses on the legendary Harley-Davidson during the filming of the movie Terminator 2: Judgment Day, 1991. This image became iconic and forever cemented his status as an action icon. Playboy Club waitress competition, 1962. These girls are a symbol of an era when Playboy was not only a magazine, but also a cultural phenomenon that set the style and standards of glamour in America in the 60s. A 1954 Ford mainline patrol car at a roadside cafe in Vinita, Oklahoma. The classic scene of the American countryside in the middle of the 20th century was an era when even police cars looked like movie cars. Prince Charles and Diana Spencer announced their engagement in 1981. This union became the event of the century, but 11 years later their marriage broke up, leaving behind a tragic and contradictory love story, a historic fashion moment. In 1946, Frenchman Louis Réard introduced the first modern bikini to the world, He chose the name for a reason, in honor of the Bikini Atoll, where the United States conducted nuclear tests. Riehl wanted the effect of his swimsuit to be just as explosive. A textile factory worker steams a coat while the curious watch him. Alexanderplatz, East Berlin, 1960s. If you liked the video at least a little, then like it. Subscribe and write your opinion in the comments.